Okay guys, well welcome to FC3 and the manual frequency separation setup. Now whether you're used to frequency separation or not, I guarantee you there's some functions here that you have not seen, especially the dynamic reprocessing. But let's go through the basics so you know what's going on. Immediately when you're on the manual section, you'll see that we have the 3 core blurring operators or filters that people use for frequency separation. Now Gaussian's probably the oldest one that people have used for a long time, and at higher radii it doesn't work as well because of haloing, but it still has its use for some things. Surface blur, of course, very common. You do have to kind of deal with the threshold, which if you know how to kind of work with that, you can get different looks depending on the texture that you're trying to preserve and work with. And of course, probably the most popular one is median. At least for several years now, median is the blurring operator or filter that people tend to prefer. All the functions in general are the same, except that you choose the blurring operator that you want and then choose the radius. And of course, in the case of surface blur, you also have the threshold. So let's go through it. We're going to go with median, and let's set like a 19 pixel radius, which is pretty big. We're going to go hit play. We're going to use a larger radius to get started to show you some demonstrations. All right, 16-bit image. So there you go. Now it's set up. This is the basic use of FC3. Okay, don't forget to watch our video on some of the more advanced preferences and everything, but this is just going to walk you through all the basics. So here we are. A couple of things we can do immediately. At the bottom of the panel, we have H and L. Those are quick preview buttons. So if I hit H, I can quickly see what the high layer is looking like. All right, and if I hit L, unsurprisingly, you can see what the low layer is looking like. Hit L again, and we're back to normal. Not always completely useful for people, but sometimes seeing that preview will give you an idea of what you've chosen in terms of radius is going to get you the process or work with the process that you're trying to do. And now let's talk about the other blurring operators. And with that, I can show you how dynamic FC3 is. Let's say I go to Gaussian, okay? And instead of the 19 median that I had, I want a 7 radius of Gaussian. I hit play right now, and it'll simply reprocess. And you can prove that by looking at the high layer again, and it looks different, doesn't it? And of course, the low layer looks different. See that? And if I wanted, just for the heck with it, we're going to do surface, hit play. Surface blur on high resolution 16-bit images tends to take the longest. So we'll give that a quick second. Okay, and there we go. We didn't change any settings, but there it is. And if we look at the high, we see that's very much what a surface blur result looks like on a high layer. And of course, on the low. So again, that dynamicness is really, really the hallmark of FC3. Let's go ahead and put it back on median, and we're going to choose like, I don't know, a 4 and hit play. Quickly reprocess that. And now we're at 4 radius of median. So if we're on the transitions layer in between, let's say I'm going to do this for demonstration purposes. Okay, I'm going to come in here and with a paintbrush on the transitions layer, I'm going to paint some areas here. I'm just going to paint some transitions. I'm going to overdo it for the sake of texture. If you guys can see, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, as you can see, I'm overpainting her face really strong here. And if you're working, let's say this is a real workflow, and you're working and you think to yourself, this is not what I wanted. The 4 doesn't work. Well, right here, while on median, I can just choose like, let's go back to 19. Why not? Hit play. And with the transitions layer untouched, it'll reprocess. And then we'll get 19, which obviously is going to preserve a little broader texture, so it looks a little more real. Okay, as crazy as I've painted here, it looks a little more real. To really prove that, let's go down to like a 2 pixel radius, hit play to reprocess, and as you can see, everything is super smooth. A little too smooth. But on top of that, I can switch to Gaussian right now and go to like 21, hit play. And now I'm in Gaussian 21, or I can go to surface blur, high threshold, low radius, hit play. And there we go. And we can just keep working like this until we get the radius that really works for us. Now, you probably won't need to do this a whole lot. If you're really familiar with frequency separation, you might even have the basic idea in your head of what you're going for in terms of radius. But having that flexibility is unprecedented. So let's go back to median for a second, because another thing we can do with frequency separation, of course, is healing, a really controlled healing on the high layer. So let's go ahead. I'm going to reprocess this at 3 median, hit play. Transitions painting that we did will not be changed. There it is. Now, if I preview the low layer, I will see my flyaways are still there. What does that mean? That means if I go to my high layer with a healing brush, in this case, spot healing, and I go to heal the hairs, let's say I want to, it won't go away because this radius isn't high enough. So what I can do is I could choose a fairly high radius. Let's go up to like a 20, hit play. And then when it's there, I can take a look at low. and see, oh, okay, those are gone now. So I go back to my high layer, and now I can actually heal flyaway hairs. Haven't changed anything else. We're good to go. So let's say I come in and I do some cleanup on the flyaways that I like, and then I now want to continue on to some areas of her arm or her neck or something. I need to change the radius. No problem. Come back, change it to like a 6, hit play. Now the high layer changes that I made will be baked in, if you will. They'll be cooked into the whole layer stack, but there we go. Transitions is still there the entire time, ready for me for whatever I want. Now at any moment, I can flatten this folder, I can stamp to a new layer, and I can continue going at any time manually. But having that flexibility to go back and forth is a big, big part of FC3, and one of the things I really wanted to see happen. Now, of course, don't forget, you can also go through the different blurring operators, not just the different radius settings. It's that flexibility that really, really makes it as powerful and efficient as we wanted it to be.